Thank you, Jens, for the kind introduction. So we've heard about volumetry already and standard for quality assurance doing low-dose CT. So I'm not talking about the low-dose CT protocol to operate with an appropriate volumetry, but I'm trying to stretch the concept of where volumetry is useful and where it is not. Actually, it is an extremely precise tool when we have certain conditions, starting with the CT protocols, because when we use volume, actually we can stratify with a good precision into the categories that are our categories for risk stratification. We've heard about negative, indeterminate, and positive findings. So if you take this graph and see what is the variability of nodules, of nodule diameter when you go from 50 to 100 cubic millimeters, and you see the corresponding diameters is so much different. So let us see how it works. Why is it so different? Well, this is a clinical practice case that we go to the workstation. We measure whether we are radiologists or we are surgeons and want to see a double check on the imaging, or a pulmonologist. So we measure it like this. But why not like that? Why not like that? And what ends up is a completely different management. So this is the problem of manual caliper measurement. Basically, the diameter. You can use maximum diameter, which is more prone to this interpretation, or you can use mean diameter, depending on the guideline that you're using, which is less prone to this interpretation. But the concept is that a polygonal morphology of a nodule has infinite diameters, but one volume. So the volume is one, diameters are infinite, depending on the plane that you're measuring it. So we usually measure on actual view, but usually, not always probably. This is a source of variability, isn't it? So if we have one parameter as compared to multiple, this is going to be the choice for being consistent across readers and along the time. Let's put it in practice and see what is the variability when we use lung grafts and high quality low dose CT for measuring lung nodules. So if you take a look at the interval of variability when you use manual millimeters as compared to automated diameter, this is the direct comparison that we can go through. So you will find a difference of 3 times, 2 to 3 times. And this is extremely important because we would really like to be consistent with intra-observer variability, which is already difficult. We would like to be even consistent across different readers. And this is exactly the problem when you use those manual diameters. It varies by a lot. So you use volume, which is great, which is okay, but it might have some limitations. This is a grading, a stratification of lung cancer risk. And for instance, let us take this case from the 4 in the lung round trial, where this big nodule was classified by the reading radiologist peripherally as a 4A. This is an actionable nodule, the so-called actionable nodule, and AI with volumetry classified it the same. Of course, we're stratifying based on size, and this is the appropriate classification. But within this kind of setting, actually, volumetry is not needed. It is not needed. This goes beyond volumetry. This goes to metabolic evaluation. And I wanted to bring this very case because at the end of the day, this showed up not being a cancer, because we know we have limitations. So let us put volumetry in the appropriate context. What is the appropriate context of volumetry? So we have to take into account several factors, including technical requirements, morphological variables, time-dependent variables, and of course, the clinical purpose of what we are doing. Let's start with technical requirements. We talk about software. We should be talking about multiple software. We should be talking about multiple versions of the same software. And this is what's going on when you use different software. The variability in the measurement of a volume is indeed quite large. So this is supposed to be a benefits of volumetry reading, right? Lecture, right? But actually, we just know the benefits when we know the drawbacks, when we know when not to use this this tool. So sometimes when you have a bad or a different software, actually you might be more consistent using manual diameter. Take a look at this. So this is the reference software, and this is the reference update software. We get to some change in variability, which is unknown until we have benchmarking of that software. So what do we need? So we need large database with clinical outcome for testing the software before it goes live. Isn't it true? Then we have the software that goes live, and we have humans using it. What's going on? The recall rate might vary consistently depending on how much the human is interacting with the segmentation. So the more we interact with the software, the farther away we get from the purpose of the software, to be consistent across time points and across, so in inter-observer consistency. And yeah. So, and this is done with an extremely extremely quantitatively oriented software. So when you classify segmentation failure with the software, sometimes you have to cancel all the volumetry and draw it again. Or sometimes you can play around with quantitative features and say plus minus size or plus minus margin irregularity. This second case is the case of the software. So whatever change you do is actually reproducible in the next time points. And this is interesting, isn't it? Because you reduce the variability based on the manual measurement. You just keep the variability related to the software algorithms that are applied and stretched within these features. So when you use a software, we're on the safe path to be reproducible, but still there is some degree of variability depending on our own use of that software. And as I've said, there are different software approaches that can help reducing the variability. Let's go on and see the morphological variables that are appropriate for using the software and those that become drawbacks in the software use. This is a paper back to 2018 always from the Nelson group, showing the variability of software of diameter measurement by software. So volume segmentation and then diameter translation with the software in a smooth nodule like case A, lobulated nodule like case B, then spiculated nodules or irregular nodules. So some of you might be recalling the lollipop sign over here, a very recent one, a very recent one called in the literature, or someone might be calling speculation over here. And this becomes a matter of risk stratification factors. If we have one of those signs, let us call it the lollipop sign or the convergent vessel sign or speculation, we know it's already morphological upgrader. It's probably, so the software is not doing great here, but morphology is. So we have a drawback. We have to be um, active in clinical activity to know the drawback of the software. So basically, we have the nodule features that determine the benefits of the software. Smooth nodules, lobulated nodules are okay. Then we also have all the nodules surrounding. So we've been talking about density of the lung. So the lung density can be extremely variable. This might include emphysema. Probably this indeed helps in the segmentation of the nodule, but we can also find nodules within areas of small reticulation, ILA, the Hansa study showed us, DIP, RBILD, those are confounding factors. They're quite subtle. And of course, there are major factors such as attachment to vessel and pleural, including fissure attachment. And then we also get to the degree of inspiration, which is a relatively important variable. Time-dependent variables. Well, when we think about volumetry and we think about time dependency, indeed we're pointing at a specific metric, which is the king of metrics in CT for stratifying the risk of lung cancer. The behavior of that finding. So the behavior of that single nodule growing within a certain amount of time and showing a volume doubling time. So this is the case of a positive volume doubling time below the 400 days, calculated with the specific formula. So you see, you have the given volume now, 203, the given volume doubling time, 225 days. The risk of that nodule being a cancer is 10%, extremely high. But not only this, if you take a look at this very patient, you will spot a nodule that was 25 cubic millimeters at the baseline and becomes 189 cubic millimeters at follow-up. And at surgery, it was resected with the major nodule. It happened to be a small cell lung cancer. So when we do volume doubling time, we can actually refine and stratify the aggressiveness of that nodule, of that cancer, and we can stratify different behaviors, and usually different behaviors might associate with different histologies. But the pathology of that nodule is also associated with the potential of success in reduction of mortality of lung cancer screening. And I think we will have more time to discuss about that. Coming to the conclusion of this presentation, why are we all doing this thing? So we detect nodule, of course, and this is the purpose of detecting lung cancer, but is this actually the real purpose of all what we are doing? We're actually not just detecting lung cancer, we are managing lung cancer. And the lesson comes from non-solid nodule. Purposely, I've not included non-solid nodules in this presentation because volumetry is not ready for the prime time for non-solid nodules. We had mass doubling time reported in the literature some year ago, but we know there are several variables that apply. So when we have to manage lung cancer, we need an accurate and reproducible tool, which is, to date, volumetry for solid nodules. Because we don't just not deal with lung cancer, but we've heard about multiple comorbidities that can happen in these subjects already yesterday and today in this engaging discussion. So to wrap up the presentation, I think all we are doing with volumetry gets the benefits to bring us to accuracy and reproducibility of for the final clinical purpose, which is managing lung cancer, not just detecting. And this is very important. Let me get a disclosure. Finally, this picture was made with human in-house intelligence. My daughter, 9 years old.